and then hit that wonderful little intro slash animation that we got. What is up, Scuttle Buddies? That startled me.
You startled me. I knew we were starting, but I mean, I'm awake now. I mean, I was awake to begin with, but I'm
That's
ready to go.
hilarious. We are ready to go. Hello, everybody in the chat. Caffeinated Diabetic, hello there. Thank you for joining
Fantastic
us.
name.
Yes, and from time to time, we usually see our regular bunch. I haven't seen Caffeinated Diabetic in the chat. I know we haven't had a Red 5 live, I'm sorry, a Scarif live in a while. So thank you for joining us, CD. And hopefully some more people will join us. But like you said earlier, this was going to be just a standard record, non live. But let's hang out with some friends and talk a little Mandalorian. What do you say, Brad?
Sounds good. You scared away our one viewer that we had there, so we're just
I
recording this
know.
for a podcast. Yeah. Excited to be here. Excited to talk about Chapter 11, Season 2, Episode 3 of The Mandalorian. Some people are saying it's their favorite yet. I don't know. That's kind of like picking your kids, although I do have a favorite, but I don't tell them which one it is.
Oh
Um,
my God, that's terrible.
well, I mean, but this was definitely up there.
It definitely was Mandalorian, like you said, the third chapter. I guess the third chapter of the second season overall, chapter 11, titled "The Heiress." That is going to get confusing real fast once we hit that fourth and fifth season. I
Yeah.
don't know if I'll be able to keep up, but you know what? I'm doing a little happy dance with my feet here because that episode was last week we started scoring those in Scuttle Cheeks, and thank you everybody for joining in our festivities there, our little rating system.
Showing us your
But
cheeks.
showing us your cheeks. But Brad, we're gonna need some more cheeks for this past episode because four Scuttle Cheeks will not do it. I am
No.
so happy with this one. And I know a lot of people had a issue with the last episode with the Egg Gate 2020, but I think we're past that. Overall
It,
impressions, Brad.
yeah, I think they reconciled for one, which is good. It's good to see Baby Yoda hanging out with the Frog family. Top to bottom, this was an amazing episode. Bryce Dallas Howard, I mean, her directorial skills are, I mean, she's getting up there with her dad lately on these shows, and even just the name, the heiress. You see these names. Chapter one had the Marshal. This one has the heiress, and you already know just based off those names that the episode is going to be good, and this one did not disappoint there.
You know, it's very interesting. You started talking about the heiress, but you trailed off by mentioning Bryce Dallas Howard. And, if the heiress has anything to do with it, obviously the Howard legacy, and very aptly titled, if I may say so. She, definitely has some directing chops, and this episode was fantastic. I know somebody had posted some similarities between some of the sequences of this episode with Dad's Apollo film, where the shuttle does a reentry, and some of the parallels, some of the shots there were, I definitely a homage to her father during the production of that film. But yeah, there's a lot of really really great stuff. I mean, you got to hand it to the creatives at ILM. They have been knocking this season out of the park as far as special effects. They are top notch. They are movie quality on the small screen. I was blown away with obviously the crate dragon, but the X-wing chase in last week's episode was amazing. We talked about it in our review last week. The swish pans and the the follow of the camera. Um, it was just amazing. And then this time around, holy moly! I mean, there's some shots in there that you just got to watch and absorb and just really take it in because they were fantastic. Overall, a great episode.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to wait on until we got to that part of the show, that part of the episode. But you were talking about beautiful shots, so I'll just go ahead and get it out there. I think that this episode has my favorite shots of the entire series in it, and that is of the Gazanti freighter
Oh yeah.
leaving the port, and
Mm-hmm.
that shot. I mean, you're some mix of I don't know, Top Gun, Apocalypse Now. Like it had all those feelings in it, and they just took a craft, a spacecraft that we love. It's in the video games. It's in the Armada tabletop game. It was in Rebels. They showed it there. They took those and they brought that Gazanti freighter to life. And seeing that, the thrusters of that and it taking off from the port is probably my favorite shot from the entire series so far.
You talking about the one where you see the
Yep,
tail thrusters just going away from the camera?
yep. I don't know what
It's a
it's.
beautiful ship.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and just the lighting, and of course we know they're using their technology for that, and but they're CGI. Like it's just unreal, like
Yeah,
or very real, however you want to phrase it.
sure.
But it just looks so real, and they've just brought the Gazanti freighter to life, and not really an exciting ship on its own, but they made it look good, and they really brought it to life.
One of the things that I'm very thankful that these Disney Star Wars films have really stuck their guns to is the George Lucas used universe, the look of everything within this galaxy far, far away. I was very impressed with the detail that went into the that little sail barge, the boat. The camera comes flying in, and as it gets closer, you can really see, the barnacles and the rust on the side. There's like panels that are attached to it that have been, repaired and replaced and kind of fixed up. It's again just the attention to detail in this show really it really surprises me. And I guess it shouldn't surprise me because the folks at ILM they know what they're doing. They've been doing this for forever. But it's really nice just to continue to see, I guess, the legacy of the look of what George Lucas established in these films so many eons ago.
Yeah, I think Solo did a lot of that when they were on Corellia, and you see the shipyard there. But here in that dockyard at the very beginning, I've been in having been in a shipyard, they nailed that look, and just the I don't know. I'm sure they're going to give it a name. I'm sure Raul's going to post it on Twitter, whatever the actual name is of that. But the AT-AT mixed with a crane. That looks something straight out of a shipyard, but they Star Warsized it, and
Hmm.
it just looks amazing. And then you talked about that ship. It looks like you're watching Deadliest Catch, when you're on that ship with the realism, and it catered to that culture with Moncals and Quarrens all over the place. It just an costuming, lighting, just an amazing job.
Yeah, and when we first saw some random shots before the season dropped, I remember thinking that sequence or that scene was going to be taking place on the station in Resistance. I forgot the name of it, but it looked very similar to the station on Resistance, the water base, the ship. I can't remember. I'm drawing a blank here.
Yeah, I'm not your subject matter expert for
Yeah.
resistance. You got more there than I do.
Yeah, but yeah, it's from top to bottom that episode was kind of making me nuts, and then we'll get into some details as far as that goes. But we're sticking with kind of a little bit behind the scenes talk. We have a question from one of our viewers, Caffeinated Diabetic. regarding the entire process of directing, writing, producing. Has only seen Favreau credited with writing some of these episodes. Is he putting together the entire script each episode, or just pieces? And I'm assuming that it's a team effort between Favreau and Filoni, and some of the other writers on staff. But Favreau, obviously being the the one of the major creatives on board, I would assume that he would be tackling the entire script slash story, if I'm not mistaken. Either way, that's kind of how they do it in episodic television for the most part.
Yeah, we saw some of that, and actually a lot of that in the behind the scenes from season one. And like you said, between Favreau and Filoni, they have their overall vision of the series of where they're headed, and we'll definitely talk about where they're headed because it's going to get interesting real fast. But yeah, they have their overall, but then they have individual writers on each episode, and but they insert themselves where they need to.
Now, I had a follow up question on that. What? Oh, I just lost it. Anyway, yeah, for sure. Let's. Where do you want to jump to?
Well, we should jump to the fact that you've been right, and I posted this on Twitter. You've been right about every single prediction you've made. We will get into which ones I'm talking about, but I want to admit once again that I've been wrong on every single prediction I made. I used to think I know Star Wars. I take that back. I don't know anything about Star Wars, or at least The Mandalorian. I thought this was going to be on a certain planet. It was not that
That's
planet.
right. That's right.
I thought Sasha Banks was going to be Ahsoka because to me, she had the look for that. That was up for debate with
Ahsoka or
others.
Sabine?
I'm sorry, I'm Sabine.
Yeah.
And she was
You're
not
right.
Sabine.
You're right. Who are you, Brad? I don't know you anymore.
I don't know. I don't. It's my first day. I just, this is my first encounter with Star Wars. I don't know what's going on, but I'll admit when I'm wrong, and so far I've been wrong the entire time. But I'll take that as a refreshing thing. That doesn't happen very often. I'm glad it's not predictable, where you can see everything coming. So I mean, I'll just look at the silver lining there. But yeah, it starts with, of course, the as you said, the Apollo 13 entrance to the dockyard. And what do you think about the Razor Crest? Is this going to be a Millennium Falcon type thing where it's just beat up the entire time now, or do you think he's eventually going to get this thing fixed up as it should be?
I'm hoping that they fix the ship up real nice. I think getting back to the whole notion of this series being kind of a western.
Yeah.
I do kind of remember, the Waltons, or the family that was heading into town with in their wagon. The wagon wheel was always breaking. The canvas overhead was always tattered. I don't know if they're doing a 1-to-1 ratio, one comparison, but it definitely has that feel to it. And I do want them to fix the Razor Crest. It's a handsome looking ship, and when it's working and flying majestically, it's a beautiful sight from a special effects standpoint. But yeah, I mean, we're probably going to get into more, hiccups with the Razor Crest. I think it lends to its, I guess the role that it plays in moving the story forward or not moving the story forward. And I just want to say a big hello to Trevor Beast 454. Thank you for joining us, Trevor. But yeah, it's he says that he's got a feeling that the Razor Crest won't be completely repaired until the time in between season 2 and 3, which yeah, could be.
Yeah, I mean, at least Han Solo could brag that she's got it where it counts, and Din Djarin can't even make that claim right now. I really don't think the Razor Crest has it where it counts. I mean, obviously it did in season 1. He got hired for the one job just because of the Razor Crest, but that thing is beat all to hell right now. So I don't think she's really got it where it counts right now.
Yeah, I would have to agree. Hello to Charlie Skywalker. Thank you for joining us in the chat. We'll talk about it later, but I want to mention something and plant the seed regarding Egggate 2020, and Yoda's penchant for eating eggs. As we see, we see the progression of the story this time around. We do see a little bit of a kind of a character growth for Yoda, and we'll get into that. But I think it bears mentioning that Yoda's not the monster that everyone thought he was last week. But we'll get into that real soon. Again, you mentioned the re-entry of the Razor Crest onto the planet's surface. Heading towards the landing platform. That was an amazing sequence. It was exciting. Special effects top notch again. I remember, hearing interviews with special effects people saying that, the more they can stay away from water, the better. Water was such a very difficult thing to create in the computer because of its organic nature. And again, I don't know if this was CGI water or if this was miniature. I know they love playing with miniatures and they wanted to kind of go back to the basics with creating these ships in miniature form. And but we'll see. I can't wait for them to kind of restart the gallery series because I really, really, as you know, I get into the behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we don't want to keep saying the same things over and over again, but I mean, like we've said this, you don't know, as you said, we don't know what's real, what's CGI, anymore. And we have said this, but echo it one more time. Just the wish that George Lucas had this technology, and the conversation about the prequels would have been completely different had George had this technology for the prequels. Obviously, still had its acting and writing flaws in it, but if he had this technology visually, because people always talked about the poor CGI at times in the prequels. Wish he had it, but we have it now, and it's just it's making for a great series. And sticking with the Western theme, it was nice to see him go in that little inn, something you would see on the Western show, getting some slop. It was fun to see Baby Yoda playing with his food. My son mentioned this one kind of had a Aliens versus Predator feel to it. She's paying homage, as we said. We got the Apollo 13 references in there, but he got the little face hugger on him, and then of course we had the infrared vision later on
Oh yeah, good
the
catch.
Gazantes. So it did actually have some. I don't know if those were intentional, but they were there. But yeah, immediately going from the inn to that ship, feeding the mama core. What'd you think of that sequence there?
I loved it, and I loved it. And before we go any further, I wanted to mention that obviously we are broadcasting this live on YouTube. And for those of you, if you have not seen the episode today, give us a pause, come back, because we definitely are going to be talking spoilers and mentioning names and taking numbers and all that good stuff. So just there's your little reminder. But yeah, I mean. I I think visually it's just you can't lose. It's great. I mean, I don't know what else to say. It's just fantastic.
Yep. I mean, he's immediately into rest. And what I like is what we're seeing over time is um, the Mandalorian, Din Djarin, is not perfect. And I like that we're seeing that. And, he gets outdone by a lot of people. He gets beat up a lot. So it's great to see that he is not at the top of his arc. And he's still got some learning to do in many areas of a character. So how about that entrance? We know that we said it was called the Heiress. That was the name of the show. How about that entrance for Bo Katan?
That was amazing. And if they didn't show up, I don't know how Din Djarin was going to get out of that mess. Back up a little bit when those squid guys shoved Baby Yoda into the water. I like physically like yelped. I was
Yeah,
petrified and scared. I'm like, oh my god. So that was like from an emotional standpoint, that was great. When he went in and dove right in to see if he can rescue the child. Again, fantastic. Again, I don't know what he would have done. It seems like he was really in trouble. Thank God that these Mandos came to the rescue. and that was a really great introduction to Bo-Katan. I got to tell you.
Yeah, after watching,
Uh, you froze. So I'll pick it up now until you come back. But again, these Mandalorians, they took their helmet off, and Din Djarin was really taken aback. Just like last time, he asked Bo Katan where he got that armor, and there you had a little bit of a backstory as far as what how long that armor has been in her family. You got a quick little explanation about her battle on Mandalore and the fight of the Purge. Let's see if Scarif Brad is back. You back there, Brad? He is not. He left me solo. But yeah, Trevor, I also was so pumped to see Bo Katan live action. Um, Katie Sackhoff as an actor is amazing. She obviously knows the character. It was fantastic. Let's see if we can get Brad back here. But yeah, let's go into the chat and see how many people are talking about it. How about that refitted AT-AT that brought the Razor Crest out of the water? I did notice that, Charlie, and I loved it. Again, just this used look, the universe that has that we've come to know and love. Very familiar with stuff like that. Let's see. I've watched it twice. Caffeinated Diabetic has a question. I've watched it twice, and I'm curious if Din or the child closed the container. I think the child did. We've seen in the first episode, or chapter 9, that he's able to kind of peek out of it, hit the button, and close it on his own. So I have a feeling that he was able to close it right before he. I'd have to look at it again to see exactly when that was closed, because I know he went into the water and he was floating for a while before the mouth came up to get him. So maybe when the mouth and the teeth started to close up, that's when he closed it. But a very exciting sequence, and not as exciting as Brad's internet problems. But yeah, yeah. Let's see. What else do we got? Once Brad gets back, we're definitely going to talk a little bit about character growth. Here he is. Let's see. Let's bring him back. There you go. He's back.
I got that Force Losers internet here.
There you go. You got that Force Losers internet special.
Yeah, yeah, that's
But
it. $5.99 a
yeah,
month. That's what I pay. But yeah, what I was saying until my internet so rudely cut me off. Um, as soon as I got done watching this, well, I've watched it 3 times. As soon as I got done watching it the second time, I went and watched the Siege of Mandalore. Now I know Bo-Katan's in Rebels, but I wanted to watch the Siege of Mandalore because I wanted to reminisce on her connection with Ahsoka in the Siege of Mandalore. And then you watch that, and then you see that the fighting techniques that they used in the Mandalorian were nearly identical to what they put in the animation in the Clone Wars, which is outstanding because they use the grappling hooks, they use the knives, they use the jetpacks in their combat. Din Djarin's not there yet, where he's sort of using his jetpack, but more just for flight purposes. But the
mm-hmm.
way they integrate Bo-Katan and her can integrate the use of the jetpack into their fighting style. She used it in the Clone Wars, and we saw her use it here. So I just want to give them kudos for that.
Absolutely, and obviously having Dave Filoni and Favreau at the helm. Dave Filoni, obviously the man behind that series. He knows what he's doing. He knows what they're talking about. So, yeah, there's when they boarded that ship to overtake it. One thing that I really, really love is like they're not holding back on some of the firepower and some of the violence against the Imperials there. They're not afraid, and from using that knife that you mentioned and the laser blast at close proximity. I mean, these guys mean business, and I love that. They're not, like I said, they're not holding back.
No, now you made you had a theory that I think we discussed it 2 or 3 weeks ago about the mask. So I don't want to blow up your head too much, more than it already is. But you mentioned that it was probably Din Djarin's, um, whatever sect or cult or whatever you want to call them, that specifically wore the helmet. So he meets them and then they immediately take their helmets off and he's freaked out. Uh,
Right.
so you want to talk about what you were saying and brag a little bit about how right you were?
Well, I was just thinking about it because obviously, the fact that none of the Mandalorians take their helmets off, that legend doesn't seem to be in any of the other Mandalorian, properties or programs that we are familiar with. So, one of the reasons that I thought that the Mandalorians in this show, the ones that raised Din Djarin the Foundling, used that as an excuse per se to either protect him or that was part of their group, their creed. And I guess it turns out to be true because Bo Katan kind of says, obviously they take their helmets off and they're like, why can't we take our helmets off? But it's interesting. So, not that they're protecting Din Djarin, but I guess, half of my theory is correct. The other half, we might have to wait until a few episodes in to really find out, is it just because they're trying to bring back the ancient ways of the Mandalorians, or are they really trying to protect his identity from someone or something? So that is my big prediction, where I think Din Djarin is somebody special, and they need to hide him for some reason. I mean, there's a lot of hiding small children or hiding identities in Star Wars. Luke was hidden from his father. Leia was hidden. So who knows? Let's see what happens.
Yeah, I think this episode and this season they've done a lot of good conflict resolution, or actually plot resolution. Like many, I was one of the ones that was getting really wrapped around the axle about this whole "we can't take our helmets off" thing when we saw it nonstop in the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
The whole planet had their helmets off. So like, what is this crap? And it looks like that they're not playing catch up as Disney has done in many cases, seemingly, where they were trying to play catch up and fix some of their mistakes. I don't think any of these are they're doing retroactively. I think all of these are planned out, which makes it amazing. So I think they always had a plan for the whole helmet issue. Like you said, it's Filoni working on it. So there's no way Filoni forgot the fact that he had Mandalorians with their helmets off on the Clone Wars that he just made 5-10 years ago. Um, so I like that we're getting some resolution on some of these what we thought were plot holes, but it looks like they're all part of the plan.
Definitely. So we have a funny question from Backyard TARDIS. Thank you very much for submitting that. What was the more awkward kiss, the frog couple or Finn and Rose?
Finn and Rose. That's not even a question. I mean the frogs look naturally in love. They were happily reunited. They had one of their eggs fertilized. Again, she seems to be just fine from their travels with Baby Yoda. Doesn't seem to be too bent out of shape that she lost an egg or two or three. And she was happy to see her husband again. And I thought they had a very natural relationship. Theirs was much more natural than what we saw with Finn and Rose on Crate.
So you mentioned eggs being fertilized, and
I did.
I laid the groundwork. See what I did there? I laid the groundwork.
No, I don't see what
But
you're saying.
I mentioned the fact that there's a little bit of character growth for Yoda here, and I've obviously Din Djarin as kind of a surrogate father for this particular youngling. We do see that by the end of the episode, the child really is fond of those little froglets, the little
Yep.
tadpoles. And I just want to mention how cute it is when Din Djarin was pulling him away, that he was like doing his little like he was like trying to stay hanging out with them. But what do you think as far as, because it really seems deliberate? Last week's episode he was really being a little brat and eating the eggs, and now he's learning that I don't know what he's learning. What is he learning? He's learning that his actions have consequences. He's learning that one man's eggs are another man's children,
Well,
so to speak.
I think all it shows is they're writing a child accurately, because we saw these things. You have progress and you have progression and you have regression with every child. We saw this in season one. He ate a frog in season one, and then later on, either in that episode or the next episode, maybe he didn't eat the frog and he let it go. Um, he ate the eggs last episode and he played with the frogs this time. So just like any child, seemingly his age, although again, I question the whole 50-year-old thing. But but he's a toddler, so like any toddler, he's progressing, and then sometimes he regresses. So I think they're just writing a child correctly. That's what you would see in a child's development. I don't think there's anything more to it than that.
Hey, sometimes I coo and I and in the middle of the night, so I don't
And
know
that's
what you're
why we
talking
love you
about.
for it. It's so we're on the Gazanti cruiser, and she's talking about getting these weapons to retake Mandalore. So this whole retaking of Mandalore, do you think we're gonna? I guess I'll make my personal prediction and then send it over to you. So what you think? I don't think we're going to see too much with Mandalore. Again, I guess I'll preface this one more time. I've been wrong every single prediction I've made. So if I say it, I'll say that I don't think we'll see Mandalore this season. I think that's going to be an overarching thing over a couple seasons. I think if they retake Mandalore, that's maybe in season 3 or season 4. But do you think so? Maybe by me saying that, we will see Mandalore. Do you think we're going to see any action on Mandalore this season?
So let me ask you this, just so I am clear on the timeline. The
Yep.
From the point that this story takes place, and then the final season of the Clone Wars episode, the arc that you're talking about. Give us a quick little timeline reminder of what takes place when and where and who.
Yeah, so obviously you have the action during the Clone Wars, and that's when it was kind of up for grabs. Almec was in charge at that time. Maul inserted himself as leader of the of Mandalore, and then you had the end of the Clone Wars. You had the Empire take over, and then you're looking at 20 years there. It looks like Mandalore sort of resisted, but not very well. So we had the Empire taking over in that time. Um, and we'll of course learn more about that. We'll get more into detail about the Empire and the Dark Saber and Moff Gideon. But you're looking at 25 to 27 years between the events of what we see in the Clone Wars and what we see in the Mandalorian. But under that time, it seems like the Empire pretty much had control of Mandalore that time, between having puppet rulers and then just outright rule of Mandalore. So it looks like Empire's been in pretty good control of it, and now with the Mandalorians scattered across the galaxy, looks like Bo-Katan's trying to gather the forces together so they can retake Mandalore, which is something which would be kind of sort of a first in the Star Wars galaxy. Mandalore fighting back for its own area. They've been very, like the Spartans. They went on many conquests throughout the universe, and they took over a lot of planets, but they were not usually on the receiving end of these conflicts. So it looks like now, for the first time, they are in the receiving end, and they're going to have to take their planet back after about 20, 25 years of imperial rule.
So that's another thing that I find very intriguing about this series is obviously this takes place 3 to 5 years after the events of Return of the Jedi. We all know how that ended. Vader has died. The Emperor has died, but he comes back. Spoilers, but. The fact that there are still Imperial forces out there, and The first season gave us a look at Imperial forces. They weren't as organized as this group, and we get a really interesting look at the factions of these Imperial warlords. You have the Client in the first season, who doesn't seem like he was like really Imperial. He kind of looked like a thug. So, some of his stormtroopers were dirty and messed up. This group actually looked like the Empire. Obviously, they had the ship, they had the uniforms, they all looked pressed. So there's obviously a vacuum of power, and the Empire is still trying to maintain control, even though the head of Hydra has been eliminated per se. But I find all that stuff fascinating. I love that we're still kind of seeing that, and I love the fact that the Empire is still out there trying to maintain control. And I know we had the aftermath books and things like that, but it's really something to see it in live action. I really really love that.
Yeah, you nailed it with Hydra. That was actually the term I was going to use because what you've been asking for
I got
connections.
you, Brad. I got you, Brad.
Yeah,
I
I know
got you.
you got you can read my mind sometimes. You've been asking for connections between this and the sequel trilogy. I think we all are actually asking for that connection between the Mandal or really anything, but the Mandalorian and the sequel trilogy. But I think you see here the seeds of the First Order, and Hydra is a good parallel because uh, Hydra was nowhere and they were everywhere at the same time, and that's kind of where we are with the Empire. And they were also ultra zealous, and these guys were zealots too. But what you see here is the seeds of the First Order, in that we first saw this with Operation Cinder, saw it in the Aftermath books, as you mentioned, but we also saw it in Star Wars Battlefront 2. And now other things have referred back to Operation Cinder as well. And, you had the Empire firing on its own planets, firing on loyal planets. And, this was the Empire's final order, was to melt all these places. So they were seeing who could remain loyal to the Empire after doing all that, horrendous, hellacious stuff. And what you get is, there's not many of them, but what is left are the ultra zealots. And then those zealots are the ones that you're going to see later on in the sequel trilogy, those officers that are working for their First Order, and how just completely loyal they are to an extremist extent. That's all they know. So I think these officers that we're seeing now, I think a lot of them will go on. Obviously, the First Order is being built up at this same time, but I think a lot of these zealots, are going to be the ones that help build up the First Order. And this was actually my son's favorite moment in the show, where he basically used the electric cyanide tablet on
Oh yeah,
himself, because he knew Moff Gideon would kill him in a heartbeat. So
sure.
instead, he took the coward's way out and just offed himself with his little like you said, electric cyanide. I don't know how better to describe it than that.
Yeah, that was pretty good. That was pretty good. And I was surprised to see the Bosch actor, Titus Willier, I think is his name, as the Imperial officer. He's a great actor. We've seen him in all sorts of shows.
I mean, he was your. I mean, when you think of an Imperial, that guy was cold.
Yeah.
And when he was asking for backup, he wasn't actually asking for backup. He was just waiting for Gideon to give him the order, and didn't think twice about shooting the two pilots in front of him, and then diving the whole freighter into the ocean. So yeah, he just. But he wasn't stiff about it either. He had his own personality. So yeah, he did an amazing job as well.
Absolutely. And you mentioned Battlefront. I tweeted a little tidbit of information regarding Janina Gavankar
Yeah.
and her role in tonight's episode, which you probably missed. It was. I'm just wondering too, like why. I guess you were wondering it too. Why she came in and to do this. So I guess she came in to the studio to be the electronic puppeteer for the nostrils of the Mon Calamari that was watching Mando's ship land towards the beginning of the show. So she was there, and you probably missed it. And again, if I hadn't read that little tidbit of information, we probably wouldn't have known. But kudos to Janina, and obviously, folks would love to see her back in the role of her character from the games, Iden Versio, in this show. But that would be fantastic. But yeah, I mean, it seems like if you are a friend of Filoni or Favreau, you want in on this show.
Yeah, it was funny. I always love when I learn something from a Scarab Scuttlebutt tweet. I was like, I was like, what? What? Well, number one, I know I didn't tweet that, so Roe tweeted that one, and I have no idea what he's talking about. So this is going to be, I'm going into my own show, and I have no idea what we're going to be talking about. But yeah, you can see from her tweets and. His name is escaping me, but the guy that plays her father in Battlefront, they absolutely loved being involved in the Star
Sure.
Wars universe. And we've had questions in the last few weeks. People have been talking about live action shows. Now everybody's just like got this hunger for live action shows, which is amazing. That's exactly where we want to be. And I've you know I've lobbied for a Star Wars Battlefront 2 sequel, the Empire times. But if she wants to get involved, I would love to see an Inferno Squadron live action from when they were in the Empire, and with her dad. And we there's a connection here, unless I'm mistaken. The name of her ship that was she rides an Imperial Raider, is the Corvus. And Corvus is apparently the planet that Ahsoka Tano was on. So there's a connection there with a Corvus. But can you imagine that, because her dad, that guy's an amazing actor as well,
Yeah.
played an Imperial Admiral just perfectly. I wish we had seen more of him in Battlefront 2. But can you imagine, a live action set in that Imperial Raider with them going on missions from the Empire standpoint? I mean, we have the Cassian Andor series coming out from the Rebellion standpoint. Could you imagine seeing them on that side?
That would be amazing. I think that would be the one Star Wars that would reunite the fandom for good, if I do say so myself. I know that's a bold statement, and we'll probably never see that again in my lifetime, but I'm very hopeful. But I kid. Back up a little bit because you just mentioned Ahsoka Tano.
Yeah.
And when I first heard her say her name, I was blown away. I said, all right, we're doing this. We're doing this. Holy crap. This is going to be fantastic. So, I know a while ago, Alex and I did a podcast, a Scare Scuttlebutt podcast show where we mentioned the fact that bringing Ahsoka Tano into a live action is going to be tricky. I think from a special effects standpoint, it's definitely going to be tricky. I think ILM has its work cut out for them because I think it's going to have to be kind of a combination. Like I said earlier, it's going to have to be a combination of CGI and practical effects. Ahsoka Tano is a very complicated visual character, and I know there's a lot of folks out there that cosplay Ahsoka Tano and other Togrutas, and I know we've seen some already, but there's something about Ahsoka Tano. If you don't get her right the first time around, you're dead in the water. So I'm cautiously optimistic, but I am very excited to see her jump from the small screen of animation to the small screen of live action. It's next week. If it happens next week, it's gonna blow everybody's brains out of the water.
Yeah. I mean, um, I'm gonna make another prediction. So I'm gonna make sure this goes the way everybody wants it to go. Because I would be personally surprised if we saw her next week. It's never usually that easy. It's been getting to me almost a little cheesy, where everything he has to do, he has to go on a little mission for to get what he wants. But that's part of this type of show. So I'd be very surprised if he actually saw her next week. Therefore, he's probably going to see her next week. But the costuming has been just on point for every, well, except for the Gamorrean skinny legs, those are still up for debate.
Right.
But for the most part, the costuming for every species, whether it's a known or a new species, has been on point. And then the casting of Rosario Dawson for Ahsoka Tano, um, I was talking about how old she must be, and I think the calculation is going to be around 50 or so. And
Everybody's 50 in this show.
yeah, so she's the same age as Baby Yoda. Um, and again, we're hoping that she sees him and calls him Baby Yoda, so that'll be canon. Baby Yoda will officially be his name. But I think she is the perfect casting for it with her facial features and the way she carries herself naturally in any, because she's got, just like Ahsoka, she's always had like a sly sort of sense of humor, but a maturity about her as well. And so just the way she carries herself, I think Rosario Dawson is absolutely the perfect casting for Ahsoka Tano.
Well, there's an interesting chat going on, and thank you, Cam Ray, for joining us. You are about 45 minutes late, sir, but we'll still take your questions and comments. He says Katie Sackhoff covered all of Bo-Katan from animation to live, so he wonders how Ahsoka will be received. And I know, Rosario Dawson has been, effectively, taken the role of Ahsoka, from all the things that we've heard online. It's going to be interesting because you guys are right. Visually, she's got the look. It's going to take that, but it's going to be, if you don't hear Ashley Eckstein, are people going to get mad? I wonder
I don't
if
think so.
Ashley's going to be doing the voice, or if somehow she's going to nail that voice, or excuse
Yeah,
me, I don't know. It's going to be a little tricky. It's going to be a little tricky visually. It's going to be a little tricky, with the voice. So I hope we get excited to see what happens. But again, another one of my predictions, as I always mentioned to you, early. I think we won't see Ahsoka Tano until the very last shot of the very last episode of this season.
you're going that far?
Yeah, I'm going that far. We're gonna keep doing these funky little missions, but
Yeah,
we're always gonna kind of be, two steps behind until that last shot. That's our will be our first glimpse of Ahsoka Tano in live action. That last shot of this season, and that would be really great because over the break, over in between season 2 and 3, it's going to be a feeding frenzy for us Star Wars fans to talk and speculate and all that stuff.
yeah. I hope you're wrong on that prediction. I hope we do see her again. We know Tamora Morrison is in this. We saw him as Boba. I did say this a while ago. I would love to see him still as Rex if Rex is still around. Obviously, he was supposed to have the advanced aging, but if he's still hanging out with Ahsoka, that would be cool. But as far as the voice goes, yeah, it's not going to be Ashley Eckstein, nor I don't think Rosario is going to try to. If she tried to mimic Ashley's voice, that's not going to work. But
Right.
what they have in their favor is the time factor. And again, you're talking about uh, 25 years at least since we saw Ahsoka last. Um, Actually, closer, yeah, 25, 27 years, somewhere around there since we saw Ahsoka last. So any differences in their voice can be attributed to time. So it's a little bit deeper, which Rosario's voice is deeper than Ashley's. You can just attribute that to time. But I think as far as the way she speaks and everything, she can still pull it off.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting for sure. Caffeinated diabetics asks, will she be with Boba Fett? And I don't know. I don't know what Boba Fett's role is going to be in all of this. We saw him obviously in that last shot of the first chapter there, but who knows? We'll see what happens. And I know nobody thought that we were going to get more Boba Fett this time around. Maybe if we hear that we have to go back to Tatooine for some reason, one reason or another, then maybe we'll definitely see him. But I don't see him. I think they're going to start progressing the story as far as getting the child to his kind. They're going to start to kind of ramp up that storyline uh, just for these next few episodes.
Yeah, so I'll ask for one more prediction from you. Now that Din Djarin knows that you can take your helmet off, it's okay. And we heard about potential. We don't know how well those were verified. Potential conflicts about Pedro wanting more "quote unquote" FaceTime. Do you think we'll see more of actual Pedro now that he might be able to take his mask off?
Possibly. I think, in universe, the character, if I'm not mistaken, I saw that we he flew off that little ship kind of in disbelief, like, no, you're wrong. And then he just took off. So I think he might still, hold true to that aspect of his sect. And, I don't really hold that much credence to the rumor that he had a fight with production and he wanted to be on camera more.
Yeah.
But I think I think the story will lend itself to him realizing, oh, okay, I can take my helmet off, and it's okay. So I think as his character progresses more, and obviously we've seen a progression of his character and understanding of who he is. I think as we see more of that, he might feel a lot more comfortable taking off his helmet, especially if we see more of these Mandalorians that are hanging out with Bo-Katan in the near future. We'll see more of that. So I think safe to say that yes, we'll probably see it.
And the cult that Bo-Katan mentioned was Child of the Watch.
Hmm.
Do you is that Watch? Do you think Death Watch, or do you think that's
Oh
a
yeah,
separate name? Now,
no,
but
no, I
wasn't
definitely
she?
think.
I want to say, wasn't she a member when we first met her in Clone Wars? Um, I thought she was a member of Death Watch at that time when we first before we knew that she was Satine's sister. I'm sure somebody will correct me. I need to go back and watch those. I
Yeah,
went straight to the last episodes. I thought she was a member of Death Watch um,
I don't
before
remember.
helping to take back Mandalore,
Yeah, I
but
don't
maybe
recall.
not. Uh, but yeah, I'm assuming the Watch was Death Watch. Yeah. So
Cam says yes. Yeah.
yeah. So I guess she no longer a part of them. But again, just one more for costuming. Hers was um, perfectly matched to what it was in the Clone Wars, and they even gave her the same guns that she
Yeah.
had.
The same
So
guns
wow,
that, it's I got really excited watching that attack sequence on the ship. Again, just like the Clone Wars episode, the way she held her guns and the way she attacked. Who are the other two characters? I know Sasha, which is not her real name, I guess, because I saw it in the credits. But the other two Mandos that were with Bo Katan, are they anybody from the cartoons?
not that I know of. I saw their names. I had the closed captioning on, and but I didn't. Their names weren't familiar as far as anybody. If they were in the clone, well, I don't think their age even lends itself uh, to being in the Clone Wars. I don't think there were anybody in particular except for Mandalorians hanging out with Bo-Katan.
Yeah.
But
Well, there's
what
a
I'm really looking forward to is what is going on between Bo-Katan and Moff Gideon. Um, her voice got icy there when she was in her very brief interrogation of the Imperial officer. Her voice got very icy about wanting to get that dark saber back and finding out where Moff Gideon was. So I'm really that's probably one of the most um, that's the storyline I am most interested in seeing is what the hell happened between her and Moff Gideon.
well, hell, man. Bo, give me a call. I got a dark saber here that nobody claimed. I'll send that one to you. But yeah, it's that's definitely going to be an interesting story to follow. So I'm all for that. Quick question: caffeinated diabetic. Did Ahsoka and Boba cross paths in the Clone Wars when he was a child. Wasn't there an episode? I don't know if they cross paths, but huh? Good question.
Um,
Wasn't he a pirate
sure.
kid?
He was, and he was hanging out with Bosk, and he
Yeah,
was hanging
I
out
don't
with
think they ever crossed
Asajj, and
paths though.
I wasn't a big fan. I wasn't just confessional here. I wasn't a big fan of young Boba Fett. I thought those were kind of cheesy in the Clone Wars. Yes, everybody loves getting Boba Fett content, but I think they just stretched it too much. I did not put much stock into a teenage bounty hunter in the Star Wars, human bounty hunter in the Star Wars universe. That even with his name preceding him, I didn't take those episodes too seriously. But I don't remember Ahsoka ever crossing paths with him in those.
Yeah, neither
But
do I.
might be time for a rewatch.
Excellent. Any other last thoughts before we conclude our little discussion on the Mandalorian episode or
I'm
chapter?
just
I
ready
guess we got
to.
a chapter.
I'm ready to break out my cheeks.
Oh,
Ready
that's
to
right.
show.
All right. How many
Everybody's doing
cheeks?
it.
Let's. Everybody's doing the cheek rating. Thank you very much for indulging us. We've got a pair of scuttle cheeks, one pair each, for a total of 4 scuttle cheeks. And we've been rating the episodes. I tweeted that I liked this episode a lot. It had everything that I wanted it to have and more. And 4 scuttle cheeks is just not enough for me. But if I have to have 4, then 4 it will be. 4 scuttle cheeks for me on chapter 11, The Heiress. What about you?
I would have given it 4. And this is me just being completely selfish. But you always have to be the one critic. One of the critics has to be an asshole the whole time, right? If I remember correctly, one's the nice one, one's the jerk. I think we can switch that role up as need be. But I'm going to give it 3. So we're going to go for an overall 3.5 scuttle cheeks. And the only reason I'm giving it 3 is because I'm a selfish jerk, and it should have been longer. We
Yeah.
got was it 32 minutes, I think it was, if I remember, either 32 or 35. I want to say it was 32. They gypped us. They should have given us more Bo-Katan,
Yeah.
and they should have given us more Imperials and more Gazanti freighters. And because they didn't, they deprived me of 15 to 20 minutes of good material. I'm going to give them down to 3 Scuttle Cheeks. If they made that a 45-minute episode, it would have been 4 Scuttle Cheeks for sure. But that's their fault for chipping me. So I'm giving it 3 Scuttle Cheeks for a total of 3.5 Scuttle Cheeks.
Where is the justice? Where is the justice, Brad?
I want the extended cut.
Yeah. All right. Sounds good. What are your predictions for next episode? Again, I don't think we're gonna see Ahsoka just yet. Still too early. But definitely would love to see Bo-Katan. Katie Sackhoff is wonderful. She, like I said, she knows the character. She's familiar with it, and she looks damn good.
Yep, she aged well, uh, very well from the Clone Wars. Maybe not at all. It was amazing. Predictions. I don't agree with you that we're only going to see Ahsoka. Let's see what we're on. This is the 3rd episode, chapter 11. So we're almost halfway through this season. I don't think it's going to be all the way at the end, but I don't also think we're going to see her this episode. That would be too nice. They'd be giving us too much too soon. So I think next episode will just be some other random adventure that slightly pushes forward the storyline in some manner. So I think it will be another random encounter or a random job or something like that as he makes his way towards Ahsoka.
I think we're going to see some Gideon in the next chapter. I think we're going to see a lot more Imperial workings and trying to flesh out a little bit of that Empire flavor just to kind of keep us away from, meeting Ahsoka too soon. So I can't wait for that. I long live the Empire, as we say around Scarif Station, and I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, it's each episode has been getting, progressively better, and really can't wait for next week. There's a lot to live up to,
Yep.
and yeah.
I would be perfectly happy if we got an episode that was 70% Imperial, and they just cut to Din Djarin from time to time. I'd be, you and I can't get enough Imperial content. So, especially as fantastic as they have Moff Gideon, uh, yeah, I'd be completely on board for that.
Excellent, excellent. All right, guys, in the chat, thank you guys for coming on such a short notice. We were just going to record our episode, but we wanted to hang out with some of you, so thank you for stopping by. The Scare of Scuttlebutt live tonight. I'm probably going to go watch it again.
Yeah, 3 times is never enough for me. But the weather on Trask might be overcast, but it is always sunny on Scarif, and that is the Scuttlebutt.
Thank you, everybody.